Blue. I'm going to be talking about my given element, which was potassium. I'll break down some interesting facts along with how I use it in my everyday life. So the first thing I'll discuss is its atomic structure, which is the protons containing 19, neutrons 20. That's average considering the isotopes, which was 39, 40, and 41. The electrons consisted of 19, and the atomic mass was 39.098 units. Most potassium is found in igneous rocks and shale minerals such as muscovite, orthoclase, and it's also present in seawater, along with some natural brines. But there are also several different compounds containing potassium, and some of them are pretty rare in nature. The first one that I found was potassium chloride, which is commonly found in a mineral called sylvite, and it's pretty abundant and mostly used in fertilizers. Another one was potassium hydroxide, which it occurs in natural or small quantities, such as lepidolite and polosite, and it's less common in nature compared to the potassium chloride. And there's another one called potassium nitrate, which is also found in nature but in limited quantities. It's also called saltpeter, and it's less abundant compared to the potassium chloride and hydroxide. So we'll go on and talk about its natural abundance. And potassium is the 7th most abundant element in the Earth's crust, and it makes up about 2.6% by weight. And the geographical distribution of potassium, most of it comes from Canada. Canada makes up approximately 30% of it, 30-35%. And then the United States comes in second, along with Chile. I'll then move on and discuss the naturally occurring isotopes. And potassium has 3 of those, which is potassium 39, potassium 40, and potassium 41, which I mentioned briefly earlier in my presentation. Potassium 40 is the most important isotope due to its role in radiometric dating. The isotopes decay and allow scientists to determine the age of rocks and the minerals, and it also provides valuable insights into the geological process of histories or the Earth's formation, the history of the Earth's formation. But I'll move on and discuss its isolation process. And potassium could be isolated from its naturally occurring form through a process called electrolysis. And it's the electrolysis of the molten potassium chloride. So it's typically isolated from its naturally occurring form as potassium chloride through that process of electrolysis. And I was asked to state the chemical equation, which was 2KCl potassium chloride reacts to produce broken down potassium and chloride. So in this electrolysis process, molten potassium serves as that electrolyte, and when the electric current is passed through the molten potassium chloride, it undergoes the electrolysis. At the negative electrode, the chloride loses an electron, and it is oxidized to form the chlorine gas. And as a result of this, the potassium metal is obtained through that cathode, while the chlorine gas is liberated, and then the potassium metal is collected and then further processed and used for other purposes. Some common uses that I discussed earlier was fertilizers. Potassium compounds like potassium nitrate and potassium chloride are used in agriculture as fertilizers. And then potassium is also used for medicines and supplements. And, most of us use potassium every day when cooking. They're also used in preservatives, but there are many interesting properties of potassium, like being highly reactive with water and causing crazy reactions, and also causing pretty colorful flames when being burned. Potassium is also essential for nerve function and muscle contractions in most living organisms. I'll discuss how potassium impacts my day-to-day life. Well, the first way it impacts my day-to-day life is through nutrition and health. So since I'm an athlete, potassium is an essential nutrient for maintaining fluid balance and nerve function, as well as muscle contraction. So when I don't get enough of it, my muscles begin to cramp up. That's not good for being an athlete. It's also in fruits and vegetables such as bananas, oranges, potatoes, and spinach. Those contain rich sources of potassium. Another way I utilize it in my day-to-day life is through items like deodorant and soap for my hair, my body, shampoos, facial cleansers, and all these things that I use for my personal care products contain potassium. And another way is through academic and laboratory research. So since we're a student, we're always utilizing potassium. It's always used in laboratories. Potassium salts, such as potassium nitrate and potassium chloride, are always used in chem labs. I know I used it when I was in my chem lab, and we used it to prepare solutions and conduct reactions, as well as synthesize compounds. But as a college student, I encounter potassium compounds in chemistry courses plenty of times. But yeah, I do understand that the properties of potassium can be essential for conducting experiments, and I use it for many things in my day-to-day life. But that was my element. Hopefully I broke it down for you guys and allowed you to understand it and how I use it in my everyday life.